Franchising is the most misunderstood and most overlooked form of entrepreneurship. We're here to educate you and help you find the entrepreneur within. Franchising is not all about the French fries.
We find that individuals who are exploring business ownership tend to have a lot of misperceptions and misunderstandings about the franchise industry. So what we want to do is help prospective business owners make confident and educated decisions before moving forward or not moving forward with a business. Welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Hi, welcome to episode 72 of Unpredicted Entrepreneur. I'm Roxanne Rapsky, and this is my colleague, Sarah Wasco. We created this podcast to bring you education and information about business ownership, really focusing in on franchising. We have a guest today that is here to help us understand one of the investment options available to us when we're starting a new business. His name is Larry Carnell. He's with Benetrends Financial. He is their VP of Strategic Development, and he's got two nicknames, Dr. ROBS and Mr. RAP. He's here to help us all understand the RAP program today. So welcome, Larry.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in. Let's start out with what does RAP stand for?
The RAP is an acronym for Rainmaker or Roth Advantage Plan. It's a Roth version of the ROBS structure.
Okay. So we've done a couple of episodes on the ROBS program,
which is rollover business startup.
Rollover for business startups, right?
Right. So lots of acronyms here. We
Yes.
got a ROBS and a RAP. And want you to help us kind of understand the differences. ROBS has been around for how long, Larry?
Over 40 years.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the history of that, because that started with Benetrends, correct?
Correct. In the 1980s, interest rates, if we think the interest rates are high now, back in the 1980s, they'd shot up to 16 to 21%. And Lynn Fisher was an ERISA attorney who discovered the legal pathway to allow people to use their retirement funds for their existing business. I came along in the 1990s and suggested to Lynn that this may be actually a better program to help people acquire businesses. My background was accounting. I was a former Entrepreneur of the Year, been an award-winning director of development for a couple of pioneers in franchising, and I helped introduce this to the first franchise, first business acquisition, first SBA deal in the country, was actually my client. So since then, it's just exploded like a rocket.
So the very first rollover for business startup client was yours, correct?
Right.
And
actually in Texas.
Nice. Very good.
There you go.
Okay. So tell us more. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just thought that was important to emphasize.
Well, in my opinion, as an entrepreneur, it's not how much wealth you accumulate in life, it's how much you keep. Under federal regulations, this program, both the ROBS and the RAP, can create structures to help you to accumulate, accelerate, protect wealth, and mitigate taxes. Literally reduce your taxes as much as 40 to 50% per year and forever exempt you from capital gains tax. Be aware that politicians have been actively trying to double capital gains tax for several years. In the current budget, is proposed to increase capital gains tax up to over 40%. I think the goal is about 44%. It doesn't matter what happens in the future. I always tell people, don't be concerned about the wolf at the front door. Be concerned about the pack of wolves coming down the road, up your driveway, around to your back door. The appeal to these programs is it will protect you from things that could happen in the future, protect you from not only capital gains tax, but more importantly, income tax.
Well, and we can't predict the future, so that's certainly good to know. So you were going to ask something. I think I interrupted you.
Well, my question is, let's back up because you got into when the ROBS program started. When did the RAP program start?
The RAP was actually a consequence or a byproduct in 1997, Senator Roth from the state of Delaware created a Roth vehicle because I think he felt that traditional retirement plans would fall under potential consequences in the future, which is exactly what's happened. Money in traditional retirement funds are subject to future tax rate increases and other consequences that I think make the Roth vehicle more attractive. In fact, many people may know a gentleman by the name of Peter Thiel. If you don't know who Peter Thiel is, I can almost guarantee you know his company. It's a little company called PayPal. In 1999, 2 years after the introduction of the Roth, he structured a business. He really kind of did the first wrap. He literally bought a business for $1,700 at the age of 33. It's turned into a $5 billion empire, 100% exempted from capital gains tax. And more importantly, he'll never pay any income tax on the growth of that product. So a Roth Advantage Plan or a Rainmaker Advantage Plan is a Roth vehicle that will not only exempt you from capital gains tax, but exempt you from future income tax literally for the rest of your life.
So who is a good client for if they're starting a business and they want to take money out of their retirement? There's two ways to do this, right? You either have to take your money out of a traditional tax-deferred retirement and convert it into a Roth before you can do this RAP program, right?
Correct. So, I was kind of giving an example in our previous discussions that is sort of like a flip phone. When flip phones were around, everybody wanted to do a flip phone. But when the smartphone came out, more and more people are moving toward the smartphone because it has some additional features and benefits. I'm seeing a trend where more and more people are wanting to go to a Roth vehicle because they want to avoid future tax rate increases. Currently, we have the lowest tax rates we've had in decades. Many experts believe, and even consumers believe, that tax rates may continue to rise. If that's the case, it may be better to be in a vehicle that will grow tax-free. The other appeal is people that are looking to move into higher tax brackets. It may be advantageous to have a vehicle that will exempt you from these higher tax rates that you may be pushed into. But the challenge with a RAP structure is that you have to convert your retirement funds to a Roth investment. When you do that, you're deferring, in essence, you're paying the tax on the conversion.
Yeah.
So you want to minimize the amount of money you convert. Now, there's a variety of techniques that we can use to minimize that tax or to defer that tax to the following year. But ideally, you want to be careful on how much money you convert. People that have $1 million in their retirement funds that want to invest $1 million, the ROBS may be a better option because there's no taxation today. You're deferring the taxes to later on. But if you want a vehicle that would grow tax-free, that's the first question I ask everybody. The RAP is often a better structure. We offer both. It has different features and benefits depending on what the short and long-term goals of the client are. Typically, I tell people with a RAP, what you're doing is you're paying the tax on the seed to avoid paying the tax on the harvest.
Okay. Would this be, if somebody's got, you just gave that example of somebody having $1 million in tax deferred, like a 401k, a traditional 401k.
Right.
So that if somebody's wanting to convert to a Roth right now, probably wouldn't be the best time. I guess when the market crashes is the best time and the rates are low, super low. It's probably a better time interest rates are low. It's probably a better time to convert. Would that be accurate?
Well, understand a lot of it has to do with their income. To be quite direct, a lot of people that we talk to, fairly large percentage of people have lost their job. Their income this year or the year that they start their business, their income may be at the lowest tax rates that they've had in decades. So it could be advantageous to do a conversion now than later.
I see.
But if you take so much money out that it starts pushing you into higher tax brackets, it could be very costly to do a RAP structure on the front end. Again, it's just whether you're comfortable enough paying the taxes on the conversion come next year in order to avoid ever having to pay capital gains or income tax ever on the sale of the business. There are other benefits to having a Roth. Number one is that it's never subject to required minimum distributions. So it gives you lifelong wealth protection. And if something happens to you, that wealth can never be seized by a creditor. That money would go to your spouse. And if you have children, this is a very significant advantage of a Roth vehicle over traditional retirement plans. If you end up selling your business for millions of dollars, and that is inherited by your children, children historically, according to payscale.com, are at their peak income when their parents pass away, typically late 40s, early 50s. If they inherit millions of dollars, it literally pushes them into the highest tax bracket. They could lose half of their inheritance. But with a Roth vehicle, the children and the spouse end up with double the net inheritance. More importantly, for children, the money can literally grow for another 10 years tax-free. Historically, the market doubles in value every 7 to 9 years. After 10 years, the children could literally end up with quadruple the net inheritance versus a ROBS structure. They could potentially live off the interest on the money. And you wouldn't have to worry about your kids literally for beyond the grave for the rest of their lives, and maybe even their grandchildren could live off of that generational wealth that you create. This is what wealthy people have been doing for decades.
It's so interesting. And the average consumer, myself included, are completely clueless about these options, which is really why we wanted to invite you on to kind of explain that. So just to kind of make sure that I'm clear, they're converting into this Roth and then using this to fund a new business, correct?
Correct. The business becomes a retirement plan investment with all the benefits that a retirement plan has.
So I also, you mentioned that a lot of your clients could potentially be unemployed and kind of looking at lower taxation rate this year if they don't have an income. Can they pay themselves a salary like they do with the ROBS, with the RAP program also?
Absolutely. If it's properly structured, they can pay themselves a reasonable salary. To be quite direct, another advantage of the program of a Roth vehicle is when they reach 59 and a half, rather than pushing themselves into a 30-40% tax bracket, they can often take out money for the remaining 10 years of their life as a dividend. Now they cut their taxes often down to 20 some odd percent. It's an incredible way to help you keep the profits of the company in your pocket rather than giving much of the money away to the government. This is the same thing Warren Buffett's been telling people for decades. He publicly tells people that his secretary pays a much greater tax rate than he does. Wealthy people do not take money out of the company in the form of income. In America, as our income goes up, what happens to our tax rates? They go up as well. Conversely, wealthy people have learned how to structure a business in such a way that as their profits go up, their taxes go down dramatically. And that's what this program will do for virtually every client that uses this program.
And I think you said 78 to 80% of your clients choose the RAP over the ROBS. Is that correct?
Yeah, when I present both options side by side, currently as much as 70 to 80% of my clients personally end up choosing a RAP. That's an incredible that's a reflection of what's happening with any second generation product. Whether you're talking about flip phones or any other product, usually second generation products have certain features and benefits that make it more appealing. I believe as an entrepreneur and as a tax expert, this is a very distinct advantage of this program because of all the things that you get with this program that you don't get traditionally with a ROB structure.
And if somebody wants to learn more and understand this, you can walk them through it and also show them how to save on taxes. You can break it down for them because you have a CPA background, correct?
Yeah, my background's accounting. In fact, ironically enough, I just did a nationwide presentation to CPAs coast to coast yesterday. We had a record number of people on the call, but CPAs are now hearing about this program. The problem is still a very large percentage of people may be familiar with the ROBS, but they're just now hearing about the RAP. We have articles. In fact, there was a cover story article written on the ROBS RAP structure. It's being featured across the country. I just got back from speaking at the International Business Brokers Association conference. Again, I just encourage people to be educated consumers. My role is to be an educator, to help you understand the pros and cons of different options. We offer both. We pioneered both the first generation product called the ROBS, and now we offer this exclusive product that people are really excited about. Ironically, I know you're in Texas. I was just speaking at the National SBA Lenders Conference where we did a presentation. The Coleman Report, which is a national report, Bob Coleman sent out an alert notice going to every lender in the country about this program. Effective immediately, you can use either one of these programs as a down payment for an SBA loan. Mm-hmm. In fact, the very first SBA deal ever done was a guy that was looking at a $300,000 business. He said, there's not enough money in it. I'm just going to go back and get a job. We leveraged him into a $1.3 million deal by showing him how to use his retirement funds to leverage his ability to buy a bigger, better business. Or in the case of franchising, show people how they can buy not one franchise, but they could buy a multi-unit franchise opportunity. That's how you make money. It's not, again, how much wealth or income you generate. It's how much you keep. Yeah. And when you have a vehicle that will reduce your taxes 40 to 50%, now you're playing with the big boys. This is how every small entrepreneur becomes wealthy, creates a business that generates money when they're sitting at home watching the football game. If you're going to become an entrepreneur, you got to think like an entrepreneur. I'll help you do that.
Wow. That is amazing. And I am so grateful that you took time to spend with us today. I know you said you like to educate people, help them make educated decisions. That's what we like to do as well. And wanted to have you on our podcast to share your wealth of knowledge. I know you're busy just talking about all the speaking engagements that you have. I'm thrilled that you're educating CPAs because I still know that there are many, many CPAs that are not even familiar with the ROBS. And to your point, that's over 30 years old. So I wouldn't expect that they would be familiar with the RAP either. So Larry, if people want to learn more, how would they know how to reach you? What would be the best way for them to contact you?
Well, there's a couple of ways. People can send me an email to larry@benetrends.com, or you can call me direct, 770-652-5393. Either of those opportunities can get you directly to me. And then I can send you a link to my calendar. We can schedule a call to have an education call.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry. We appreciate your time today and your vast knowledge. I think I need to listen to this a few times it takes a while to wrap your head around it. For sure.
It does.
Well, to be quite direct, if you make enough mistakes, they call you an expert. Everybody out there, I'm a Billy Bob from West Tennessee. Everything I've learned through following people that are successful. Partner with experts. The same thing when you're looking for a franchise. My comment to the audience is make sure you're working with professionals like Roxanne and Sarah to help you find the right franchise. There's 4,000 franchises out there. To be quite direct, not all of them are good franchises. Right. You want to filter the best from the rest, and you want to structure it in such a way to maximizes your profitability. I'll help you do that. Keep in mind, we also do SBA, microloans, unsecured, security-backed lending, leasing. Entrepreneur Magazine rated us the #1 funding resource in the country. We're also the only funding resource ever endorsed by the International Franchise Association as a preferred funding partner. That's a pretty strong testament of credibility.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry.
Well,
my pleasure.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. If you would like to hear more of our podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, FranNet of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Oklahoma, or you can subscribe to Unpredicted Entrepreneur wherever you get your podcast. My name again is Sarah Waskow. It's Waskow, and I'm joined by Roxanne Rapske, Rapske. Please find us on LinkedIn. We share lots of helpful information there. We would love to connect with you, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye.